Hey, Ramona.
James.
Hey.
Who was that?
Paz Valdez. That was Angela Valdez's sister.
You were very gentle with her.
Yeah, well, we both lost someone dear to us, so neither one of us will ever be the same.
I don't think I can compete with a ghost, James. I don't think I can compete with a ghost, James. I don't think I can compete with a ghost, James. I don't think I can compete with a ghost, James.
I don't think I can compete with a ghost, James. This is clearly an indicator to the fact that at some point in this very same episode in which we didn't see, there was a point where Ghost opened up to Ramona about his past. There is absolutely no other way she would have known about that name without him telling her anything about his past. She clearly didn't want there to be more secrets between them. Now, what's really interesting is what she says right after this.
Do you think we could have fewer secrets between us?
This is exactly when James decided to finally come clean to her about the plan that he already had in mind. He knew that at this point there was absolutely no way he was going to be able to keep any more secrets from Ramona, so he definitely had to have told her about his master plan immediately after this particular scene, because we pretty much don't see her at all after this until the final scene at the club. Pay very close attention to when Paz enters the bathroom and Ramona is by the sink washing her hands. If you look very closely, you will notice something very strange beside Ramona. Pay very close attention. Did you notice it? On the sink's counter we can clearly see an all-black leather purse and that there is something underneath it. If you remember correctly, this black purse was absolutely nowhere to be seen earlier in the episode, especially when Ramona was face to face with James in the club. It's obvious that James gave this purse to Ramona immediately after they shared their first kiss. But why? If you look very closely under the purse, you can clearly see the gun that was used to switch with the gun Tariq had left inside Truth, which was completely different from the one that Dre gave to him. James left Ramona in charge of switching the gun. This gun is identical to the one that Tariq used to fire the bullet to James. Ramona had the gun this entire time. When you see Ramona walk up to James in the final scene of the episode, she's actually handing the gun to James so that he can switch it. He was there waiting for her to arrive with it after everyone had already left. Of course, we didn't directly see Ramona hand the gun to him because we are actually seeing all of this from James' perspective. In his mind, there is not absolutely one thing that is going wrong on his special night, and there's not absolutely one thing that can stop him. When you really pay some thought to it, there is no rational reason why Ramona would be there all on her own just to speak to him and walk away.
Everything we wanted. I know we still have to talk.
Yeah.
She handed him the gun that he told her to get from his office earlier in the episode while the party was going on. She waited until everybody was gone to hand it to him, and all of this happened before Tariq even got there. Behind James we can clearly see the same exact cabinet where Tariq hid his gun. It has been right behind James this entire time. Both him and Ramona were in that area of the club alone for this very specific reason.
I just gotta clean up a few things around here, okay? And I'll be right there.
All right.
Okay.
Now that he had the gun, all that was left was the final part of his plan. When we see him turn his head, that is an indicator of the fact that he's about to switch the gun. Of course, the producers blacked this scene out because it would have ruined their surprise and the entire plan that they are building up for Book 2. And as we all already know, when Tariq got there, what he actually found was James's gun that he had replaced with the fake bullets. This is why Ramona didn't feel any emotion towards Paz when she was telling her about her sister.
Being close to Jamie is the reason she is dead. But you have a choice here. You can stop him.
There are some people who are just unstoppable.
Ramona was clearly fascinated by the idea of James being unstoppable, and she would do absolutely anything to see him pull through with his master plan.
I could not have gone any better.
Everything we wanted.
Simon Stern.
Look at you. You got everything you wanted.
Well, with your help, yes.
We all need friends, James.
If there would be anyone who would have helped James the most, especially with money to help him disappear, it definitely would have been Simon Stern. He pretty much already knew the tensions that had been going on between Tariq and his father, considering the fact that he does have access to 50% of the club and that he can pretty much look at everything going on inside of it. And if you remember correctly, in the original series, there was a point where it was revealed that there were surveillance cameras in the club when the police were searching its premises. James made sure to tell Stern to get rid of all of the cameras in the club so that the authorities will never find out about what he did. This is why the police were never able to recover footage from that night. Stern is the only other person who would have access to those cameras. If you pay attention to Stern, you'll notice that he barely speaks to Tariq on how he's doing after his father's supposed passing, because he himself already knows what James is up to and that he isn't dead at all. The secret associate. He of all people definitely took the biggest risk in carrying out the master plan James had in place. After he got off the phone with James, he made sure to get his hands on the ambulance where Ghost made a clean exit. Now, many people have wondered how exactly Ghost managed to make such a clean exit, and that answer is very simple. Detective Santana had to 100% have been there at the scene of the crime. For those of you who don't know, we only saw him in Season 1 of Book 2 for a limited amount of time because Courtney Kemp has been building up towards the reveal of a secret sibling to James St. Patrick. Listen to her mention it in her own words.
Okay, does Ghost have a secret sister? No, not a sister. Hint, 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 hint.
What's even more interesting is the fact that she basically confirms that if Ghost did have this master plan in mind, then someone else definitely had to have been involved.
If Ghost thought Tariq was coming to shoot him, he definitely wouldn't have played it out like that. So if there is any kind of hanky-panky happening, it's not necessarily because of Ghost.
The only other person with enough power to have been able to pull this off would have been none other than Detective Santana himself. He was one of the many other people that James needed to contact in order to escape without being seen. If you remember correctly, the police wouldn't allow Tariq into the club to see his father, but the only person who could have given such orders to the police officers at the entrance of the club is none other than a detective. Somebody with enough power like Santana. If Santana would have let Tariq inside, then there's a high possibility that Tariq would have noticed that the body of his father was taken away too soon, and he would have suspected the possibility of his survival. Now, as for how exactly James got in contact with Santana, well, that answer is very simple. He could have very easily asked Uncle Gabe about his brother, and as we already know by now, Uncle Gabe definitely seems to be keeping a secret from Tariq based on how he was speaking to him at the site of the funeral.
Yeah. Made us all proud. Just like I'm sure you're gonna make him. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Of all places, Courtney Kemp only showed Uncle Gabe at the supposed funeral of James St. Patrick for just one scene, and he hasn't been seen again since that episode for a very specific reason. We don't exactly know what else was spoken between James and Uncle Gabe in that final episode, but it's obvious that James stayed there for a longer set of time than what was shown in the episode, and considering the fact that they were both speaking about their family, no one but Uncle Gabe could have been the perfect person for James to ask about his brother's whereabouts. Ghost knew that this was the only way that his master plan was going to work. Having access to Detective Santana led to the final part of the plan, and that was getting his associate to one of the ambulances that he helped Tommy get into his organization. But where was the ambulance? This is the question that has been in the minds of millions of fans who have always wondered where James's associate could have possibly been waiting with the ambulance, and it's actually been right in plain sight this entire time. Do you notice anything? Look closer. As you can clearly see, there is an ambulance with its back doors completely open parked in the parking lot of the club. If you look very closely, you can tell that the windows of this ambulance truck are identical to the windows of the very same ambulance truck that passed Tariq. You can also notice the ambulance lights on the top edge of the ambulance, which are the same exact red ambulance lights, and if you look closely you can tell that the ambulance is actually facing the exit of the parking lot, and that outside of the parking lot there is a green street sign. We can clearly tell that the truck was parked there, and it's obvious that the associate of James was the one who was actually there, and that he definitely spotted Tasha in the car. He immediately told James about this, and James had no choice but to wait and see what Tasha was up to, and the reality is that he wasn't actually expecting Tariq to walk in through those doors to shoot him.
What are you doing here?
He was actually expecting Tasha to arrive, and this perfectly aligns with the original ending that Courtney Kemp had in mind for the series finale. Take a quick look at what was actually supposed to happen instead.
I can't let you destroy my son.
As you already saw in the original version, Courtney Kemp's original plan for the series finale was to have Tasha kill him, but she knew having Tasha be the one who pulls the trigger just wouldn't work, especially with the idea of bringing James back later on in the series of Book 2. Courtney wanted it to be Tariq who pulled the trigger for a very specific reason. She wanted to prove to Tariq that no matter what he did, he will never be able to outsmart Ghost in any way, shape or form, which is what he will learn later on in Book 2 when James returns. James definitely had his suspicions about Tariq, but he definitely had no one but Tasha in mind, which is exactly why he was completely confused when he saw that it was Tariq who arrived instead.
What are you doing here?
James thought Tariq had actually left the gun there for Tasha, and this pretty much explains why James was so frustrated with Tasha earlier in the episode, going as far to the point where he was threatening to remove her from having custody of their kids.
You can try all you want to bring me down to your level. It ain't gonna happen. You're not gonna get in the way of my future, and for damn sure, you're not gonna get in the way of my son's future. I'm taking Tariq and Yaz with me in Albany.
You can't take my kids.
You're a drug dealer. Of course I can. You should know I'm moving on with somebody else.
Ramona ain't raising my kids, Ghost.
Tasha Ramona would be a great role model for Yaz and Tariq. Shit, I'll do whatever it takes to keep them away from your bad influence.
James felt that Tasha was just too dangerous and that she was out to kill him, and he knew that she knew his typical routine of closing down truth, so instead, he kept himself up in the balcony waiting for her arrival, especially after his associate notified him about her being in the parking lot. He knew that Tasha was going to try to do something to him after threatening to put Tariq in jail, so he waited for her. He did all of this intentionally to hurt Tasha so she could be thrown in jail and no longer have any way to have direct access to them, which is why she didn't inherit a dime from James's money.
You, do not inherit.
Nothing.
James was clearly behind everything that was said in this scene. He intentionally designed it this way to let Tasha know that no matter what she did, he would always win. In the end, James St. Patrick came out on top and outsmarted all of his enemies. It's obvious that Courtney Kemp has done all of this to set up the return of James St. Patrick. There was a reason why the ambulance was there, why we were never shown a body, why there is no RIP post, and why Courtney Kemp wrote this line in the season finale of Book 2.
You may not be here no more, but ghosts never die.
It's clear as day that James St. Patrick made it out of his series alive, and he clearly had the help from each and every one of these individuals. All of these games and tricks are in the nature of Ghost himself. Everything was planned from the very moment that he looked Tariq in his eyes and told him that he could never outsmart him.
Keep thinking you're fucking smarter than me. Don't ever make that mistake again, son.
All you have to do is listen to what Tommy Egan said about Ghost in his own words back in the original series when he was speaking to Holly.
We knew this guy Breeze when we were kids. He came up with Ghost. He said the kid had the ability to disappear. saw him leave. The kid had the ability to disappear.